So today we're going to talk about the ladder method, and the learning goal says that we're going to find the greatest common factor of two whole numbers less than or equal to 100, and we're also going to find the least common multiple of two numbers less than or equal to 12, and we're going to use the ladder method. So the ladder method is just a different way for us to find the values that we're looking for, the GCF and the LCM. What I wanted to do today is start you with this foldable. And your foldable is full of definitions. And I'm not going to go through and read the definitions for you, but I would like you to take a second and pause the video and make sure that you're getting all the definitions into your notebook. So the first definition is for a composite number. Then you have a definition for the prime number. You have this great memory trick over here that says remembering first primes. And it's just a quote. It says, at 2:35, I went into the 7-Eleven and bought 13 Sharpies for $17.19. Those are the first several prime numbers that you're going to find in our basic alphabet. So you may want to use that as a memory trick for the future. There's also a definition for the greatest common factor and the least common multiple. So as I mentioned, take a moment, pause your video, jot down these definitions, and I'll catch up with you in a minute. Okay, now that you have all your definitions, I would like you to find the GCF and the LCM of two numbers, and we're going to use the numbers 30 and 42 in our example. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use the ladder method. Now the ladder method starts like this. We draw kind of an L with a very long tail on it, and we put our two numbers inside that L. So we're starting with 30 and 42. And then we think to ourselves, what is a common factor of 30 and 42? And it can be any factor. It can be the biggest factor, it could be the smallest factor, it could be just a factor that comes up off the top of your head. So the factor I'm going to choose is the number 2. And once you find that factor, you're going to put it exactly where I put my 2, kind of to the left-hand side. And you're going to think to yourself, okay, if I factored 30 by 2, what would I get? Well, 30 divided by 2 is 15. We're going to do the same thing with the 42. If I factor 42 by 2, I'm going to get 21. Now we're going to draw the next layer of our ladder, and we're going to repeat what we just did. So again, I'm going to look for a common factor. It can be any factor. The one that jumps out at me is the number 3. 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 3 goes into 21 7 times. Now, when I look at the numbers 5 and 7, I don't see a common factor. I've kind of run out of room here, right? So are there any more factors? No, there are no more common factors. So I'm going to stop right here. And what I'm going to do is change tools for a second and jump to a highlighter. And I'm going to draw an L using all of the numbers outside of my ladder. Okay? Now here's the kind of trick for you to help with your memory. GCF, LCM. I just drew an L, which means I'm going to start with the LCM. The LCM is going to equal to all the parts that exist in the L that I just drew. The 2 times the 3 times the 5 and times the 7. So when I multiply all those numbers together, 2 times 3 is 6, times 5 is 30, times 7 is going to give me 210. Guess what? 210 is my LCM. So my LCM is equal to 210. Now, I'm just going to look one more time. Rather than looking at the whole L, I'm going to look at the vertical numbers. and that's going to be my GCF. So my GCF is equal to 2 times 3, which is just 6. And now I know that my GCF is 6. So that was kind of a quick, easy way to find the GCF and the LCM. Let's do a few more examples just so that you kind of get the hang of it. So on the bottom half of your paper, you can go ahead and work this out with me. I'm going to do the LCM and the GCF for the numbers 12 and 60. So I'm going to draw my ladder. A number that I see that both have in common is 6. So 12 divided by 6 is 2. 60 divided by 6 is 10. Another number they have in common is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. I have no more numbers in common, so I'm going to draw my L. And I'll know that my LCM equals 6 times 2 times 1 times 5, which 6 times 2 is 12, times 5 is 60. And my GCF is just going to be the vertical numbers, so 6 times 2 equals 12. One more example. We'll look at the numbers.
Today we're going to talk about the ladder method. And the learning goal says that we're going to find the greatest common factor
4 divided by 2 is 2.
whole numbers
48
less than or
divided by
equal
2 is
to
24.
10. 100.
One more time.
And we're also going to find the least common multiple of two numbers less than or equal to 12. And we're going to use the ladder method. So the ladder method is just a different way for us to find the values that we're looking for. The GCF
times 1 times
and
12,
the LCM.
which is 2
What I
times 2
wanted
is 4,
to do
times
today
1 is still
is
4,
start
times
you
12
with this
is
foldable.
48.
And your
And
foldable is
GCF
full of
is just
definitions.
2
And I'm not going to go
times 2,
through and read the definitions
which is equal to
for you,
4.
but I would like you to take a second and pause the video and make
Don't
sure
forget
that you're
to use
getting
the
all
ladder
the
method
definitions into
to
your
solve
notebook.
for the 2 examples.
So the
in
first
your
definition
proof.
is for a composite
Hopefully
number.
this is a
Then you have a
little
definition for
simpler
the
method
prime
for you to
number.
keep working.
You have this
hard
great
on
memory
your
trick
GCF
over
and your
here
LCM.
that says remembering first